We'll start with a land acknowledgement that the land upon which we meet is the traditional territory of First Nations people who have a long-standing relationship with the land, water, and region of Southwest Middlesex. The nations along the banks of the Thames River include the Chippewa of the Thames, Oneida Nation of the Thames, Munsee Delaware Nation, and Delaware Nation of Moraviantown. We convey our respect to our Indigenous neighbors and thank them for their contributions to our culture, community, our past, and partnerships in the future. Members of the public have been invited to participate in this meeting by contacting the clerk to receive a registration link. Members of the public may also attend in person at the municipal office at 153 McKellar Street. Today's meeting will be streamed live. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Is there any member of council declaring a pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll move on. Additions to the agenda. It's been circulated. Any additions or errors noted? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented. Councillor McCollum, second for that, please. Councillor McGill, discussion in favor, carried. Delegations and presentations this evening, council, there are none. And we will be moving in to a committee of adjustment to discuss some property matters with Stephanie here. Would someone entertain a motion that the committee of adjustment convene at 7:04 for a minor variance A1-2023 and variance A2-2023 and B12-2021? A motion for that? Martin, thank you. And a seconder for that? Amy Choi, Councillor Choi. Moved by Councillor Vink. All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll call the meeting to order. 7:04. Disclosure of pecuniary interest in this committee of adjustment. Any councillor declaring pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we will continue. The minutes of the last committee of adjustment have been circulated. Meetings in respect to February 22nd, 2023. Any errors or additions? Seeing none, would someone entertain a motion that the minutes be adopted as circulated? Councillor Scholdice, our Deputy Mayor Scholdice, Councillor McCollum. Welcome, Stephanie. It's nice to have your presence here. We have 3 planning matters before us. Could you advise us of the purpose and effect of minor variance A2-2023?
Certainly. I'm just going to share my screen so we have a map up in front of us. Perfect. The purpose and effect of the application is to permit the construction of a 109.25 square meter addition onto a existing accessory building, which would result in an accessory building with a total ground floor area of 215 square meters, whereas the maximum ground floor area for an accessory building in the Hamlet residential zone is 100 square meters. The subject lands are about 2.3 acres in size and contains a single detached dwelling, a pool, and an existing accessory building. The subject lands are serviced by a municipal water connection and a privately owned septic system and have an existing access off of McMaster Place. Staff have reviewed the application against the 4 tests of a minor variance and are of the opinion that the application is considered to be minor in nature. It is considered to be an appropriate use of the land, and it is considered to meet the intent of the official plan and the zoning bylaw. Notice of the application was circulated in accordance to the requirements of the Planning Act, and staff received the following comments. St. Clair Region Conservation Authority noted that the property is located outside of their jurisdiction. The Ministry of Transportation had no requirements, because it's not a MTO road. The County of Middlesex engineer, same thing, no comments on the variance. The drainage superintendent for Southwest Middlesex has no concerns for this submission. The Southwest Middlesex chief building official has no objection. And the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority as well had no objection. And at the time of writing the subject report, no public comments have been received. So it is recommended that the application be granted. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that. As council knows, there's a process we must go through. Is the applicant present with us to make any remarks?
Your worship, I'm the authorized agent for the application. My name is Barbara Rosser. Would it be appropriate for me to speak at this point?
Yes, Barbara, welcome to Southwest Middlesex, and please, we'll give you the courtesy of the floor and you make yourself right at home.
Thank you very much. We, of course, have read the planner's report and concur with the recommendation to the committee. I would just add that with the addition, this accessory building would still have very low coverage in terms of the whole lot at about 2.3%, whereas 10% is the maximum lot coverage for an accessory building in the HR zone. And we concur with the conclusions drawn in the planner's report and are hopeful that the committee will support the recommendation. I would point out that Derek Vergeer, who is one of the owners of the property, is present at your meeting. If there are questions that either he or I can answer, we would certainly be happy to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. During this time, if there's anyone else, if you would like to speak, this is an opportunity to do so. If not, we'll continue on. Okay, we will continue on. Michael, since I've seen you last, have there been any oral or written submissions? Okay, thank you. Committee discussion. Council, are there any questions you wish to ask the representative of the applicant or Stephanie through the chair? Seeing none, it is at this time that the committee will make a decision. The recommendation is before you that the application for minor variance A2 2023 to permit the construction of a 109.25 square meter addition onto an existing accessory building, which would result in an accessory building with a total ground floor area of 215 square meters, whereas the maximum ground floor area for an accessory building in the Hamlet residential HR zone is 100 square meters, be granted. Would someone entertain to move that? Councillor McCollum, seconder. Councillor Myers, discussion. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Barbara, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, committee.
Stephanie, will proceed with minor variance A1 2023 1761 Concession Drive. If you could advise council of the purpose and effect of this application.
Thank you. There we go. So the purpose and effect of the application is to permit the construction of a single unit dwelling with a setback of 30.58 meters or 100 feet from center line of an interior road, which in this case is Concession Drive, whereas the minimum setback permitted from the center line of an arterial road is 38 meters or 125 feet. Additionally, the applicant is seeking permission for a rear yard setback of 5 meters, whereas the minimum rear yard setback required in the rural residential zone is 10 meters. The subject lands are about 1,063 square meters in size and contains an existing shed. So all other buildings that are shown on the aerial have been removed, from my understanding. The subject lands are serviced by a municipal water connection and a privately owned septic system and have an existing access off of Concession Drive. Staff have reviewed the application against the 4 tests of a minor variance and are of the opinion that it is considered to be minor in nature. It is an appropriate use of the land, and it meets the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw. Notice of the application has been circulated in accordance to the requirements of the Planning Act, and staff received the following comments. St. Clair Conservation Authority noted that the property is located outside of their jurisdiction. The Ministry of Transportation has no requirements for the application. The County of Middlesex engineer has no comments for the variance. The Southwest Middlesex Drainage Superintendent did note that there does not appear to be a municipal drain directly abutting this property. It will be the responsibility of the applicant to get their stormwater to a proper outlet without negatively impacting the surrounding properties, which would happen at the time of the building permit. The Southwest Middlesex Chief Building Official had no objection, and the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority did note that the property, a portion of the property is located within the regulated area, and any alterations or buildings would require to apply for a permit. So as a condition, staff have recommended that a permit be obtained. And at the time of writing the subject report, no comments from the public has been received. So staff are of the opinion that the application meets all applicable policy and are in a position to recommend that the application be granted, again, subject to the condition of the permit from the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Mike, is the applicant present, or are there any remarks? Okay, we'll move on. Have any oral or written submissions been received? No. Committee discussion. Council, any questions? To direct through the chair to Stephanie. Seeing none, the recommendation is before you that the application for minor variance A1 2023 to permit the construction of a single unit dwelling with a setback of 100 feet from the center line of an arterial road, whereas the minimum setback permitted from the center line of a arterial road is 125 feet and a rear yard setback of 16.4 feet. Whereas the minimum rear yard setback required in the rural residential zone is 33, be granted subject to the following. Would someone entertain to move that? Councillor Vink, second by Councillor Choi. Discussion? All in favor? Carry. Stephanie, we're on consent B12 2021, a request to amend the condition on 196 McCreary Street, and the clerk has informed this council that public participation for this consent item was completed at another meeting of the Committee of Adjustment. Stephanie, could you walk us through this, please?
Certainly. Just going to share my screen as well. Perfect. So as committee may recall, consent B12 2021, which proposed to create 3 residential building lots from the property known municipally as 196 McCrae Street, was conditionally approved on November 24th, 2021, subject to conditions. And as a condition of the consent application, the applicant is required to demonstrate land use compatibility between the new lots and the adjacent industrial use located at 199-205 Elizabeth Street. And by way of submitting an engineering report to address any mitigation measures required for noise, odor, and vibration in accordance to the D6 series guidelines, which is considered to be a typical, I guess, condition of development in close proximity to residential or industrial uses and vice versa. The D6 series guidelines are intended to be applied in land use planning process to prevent or minimize future land use problems due to the encroachment of sensitive land uses and industrial land uses on one another. The D6 series guidelines includes classifications of industrial type uses, classes 1 through 3, and required separation distances depending on that classification. In October 2022, the applicant provided a letter requesting to remove condition number 7 which has been attached to the council agenda for council's consideration. And since the request has been received in October, staff have been working with the applicant and their legal team on obtaining some justification to justify or accompany the request for removal of that condition. The applicant's legal counsel has provided supplementary information on the two closest industrial uses, being Ross Welding Limited as well as the Agris Cooperative Limited, and have classified them as Class 1 and Class 2, respectively. And based on the D6 series guidelines, a Class 1 industrial use requires a 20-meter setback, and a Class 2 requires a 70-meter setback. The applicant's legal counsel has advised that the land subject to the consent and rezoning applications do meet or exceed the minimum separation distance required for both industrial uses. However, in order for staff to be in a position to be satisfied with land use compatibility, it is recommended that an opinion from a professional acoustical engineer be provided to verify that the study is not required as a result of the D6 series guideline requirements being adhered to. So therefore, staff recommend that condition number 7 of the consent application be amended to add the addition, I guess I'll read the whole thing out for you, so that the owner submit an engineering report to address noise, odor, and vibration in accordance with the D6 series guidelines to confirm that there will not be any land use compatibility impacts on the proposed dwellings within, it's now a 2-year period, to the satisfaction of the municipality, or alternatively, that an acoustical engineer provide a professional opinion verifying that the classification of Ross Welding Limited and the Agris Cooperative Limited, and that a study is not required as a result of the setback requirements of the D6 series guidelines being met to the satisfaction of the municipality. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Committee discussion, is there any? Seeing none, committee decision. It's not necessary to read the condition number 7 again. Yes, Martin.
Mayor Allen, I did have a quick.
Okay, yeah, go
there's
ahead,
a lot
please.
of material going over this. So I'm trying to get this clear. They have to talk to Ross Welding and Agris and have their verification that it's all right to go ahead with this.
Through the mayor to the councillor, I believe we do have an opinion from the applicant's legal counselor. So the suggestion from myself, I am not a qualified person to, I guess, interpret or be a judge from an acoustical perspective. So my recommendation is that to amend the condition to allow for, instead of the full study to be completed, an option is to get an opinion from an acoustical engineer to say, yes, we've reviewed the material that the legal counsel has provided, and we're in agreement, and the study is not necessary because the classifications were done correctly and the setbacks are being adhered to. So it provides them the flexibility while also satisfying myself from a land use compatibility perspective. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, it is committee decision time. Again, it's not necessary to read that. Would someone move that recommendation? Deputy Mayor Schuldice, second for that, please. Councillor Vink. Last call for discussion. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Future meetings committee, Wednesday, April 26th at 7. And we will adjourn this committee at 7:22. We are on number 6 of the agenda, the consent agenda. I'll read these out, Council, 6A through 6M. If there are any you wish to pull out, I'll take a look up every now and again and try to catch your hand, and we will move these into new business. I believe it'll be item number 12. 6A, February 22nd, 2023 meeting minutes. 6B, procurement policy comparison. Yes, Councillor Schuldeis.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Just a quick comment now, if I could.
Yep.
Appreciate the report from staff. It wasn't so much the limits that I was concerned with, but how it was being used. But I think with our new CAO along with our treasurer, I don't see it as being as much of a problem now in the future.
Okay, thank you very much. And it was, I think, very realistic and somewhat conservative in today's environment and costing environment. But I appreciate those words, and I'm sure our CAO does and treasurer do as well. Any other questions on that? 6C, Southwest Middlesex vouchers. Thank you very much, Council, for your communications to our Treasury Department on that. Appreciate it. 6D, Southwest Middlesex real estate dealings. Any questions? And Southwest, oh, Mark, oh, I didn't see your hand. I was staring right at you, Mark. I was waiting for you to put your hand up there. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'd just like to thank the staff for preparing this report and updating us on the real estate sales.
Okay, thank you. And thank you again, Kristen. And Mike. 6E, Southwest Middlesex grant opportunities. Yes, Councillor Schuldeis.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'm just wondering, when reading this right on the arena grant application, how much we are applying.
I will direct that question to Kristen, who in turn can seek the assistance of our CAO. Any comment, Kristen, on that?
We haven't finalized this yet. I wanted to bring it to council first, but I have asked Sam to put together kind of some preliminary costs on what a grand opening could entail. And we've confirmed that they will account for in-kind funds as well, which means any staff resources that we're putting towards the grand opening, which aren't additional costs to us, are available for the grant. So I think we were going to aim for about 10,000, but we'll see how successful that is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Kristen, we wish you luck on that. MLHU Board of Health meeting summary, February 23. And the aquatic programming staff report 2023. (6H) St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, the annual report. What a colorful report. Good read. And 6I, Schedule 22 of the Ontario Clean Water Agency Distribution System Summary Report. We'll look forward to a delegation that will be present at a future meeting on this, which is an annual responsibility. And again, on the next page, their annual reports in the distribution system. 6J, North Perth school bus arm cameras. Yes, Councillor Choi.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to support this.
Okay, and Councillor Choi, can I interpret that as a motion?
Yes.
Coming forward, thank you. And a seconder for that. Councillor McGill. Discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Ashfield Colburn Wawanush voter list resolution. And project letter, Oneida Nation of the Thames First Nation connection to Lake Erie Durham primary water system. And 6M is the Brook Alveston Fire Department budget, 2023. Yes, Martin, please go ahead.
Three is one, I'm wondering if we were talking about that moment or not. I do recall, I think John recalled, I think it was, there, also.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'll let staff take that on consideration. Just as introductory remarks to that subject, I will pass it on to Kristen, who has a history of it, and our CIO, who has studied it prior to the meeting. The capacity of that treatment plant currently is only operating at less than 40%. So we have huge capacity in that plant. I'm not saying that our distribution system has that capacity, but our treatment plant, I think, is only operating 36 or 37%. And it is problematic sometimes to have two water systems, because should there be a contamination on one, it could go into the other. So it's somewhat it used to be discouraged. Whether there's technology out there today that prevents that, I don't know. But at one time in that study, it was. Kristen or Mike, would you like to add to that conversation?
Yeah, I think what they're looking for is they originally visited us 2008, 2009, I believe, was a conversation I had and overheard with Councilor McCollum yesterday. I think what they're looking for is they are well aware of the Tri-County. I think what they're looking for is just a letter to say if we are interested to potentially look for a future connection. They're not looking for an answer right now, but if we would be looking at something down the road, and that would be obviously council's pleasure and consideration if they want to see that.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Vink? There'd be sundry costs on that too, to obtain those, but
Yeah, to appease council, if council would like us to reach out to find out what some of the costs at today's rates would be and go through the motions of it, there wouldn't be trouble. That's what we're here for, certainly.
okay. Okay, we don't need a motion to that effect, do we? It would help.
The clerk will tell you.
Okay,
You could.
okay.
It just for direction on
Yeah,
that.
no problem. Martin, would you move that the clerk be authorized to advise administration to investigate the solicitation from the Huron water system?
Yes.
Okay, is there a seconder for that? Councillor Deputy Mayor Scholdice. Discussion? All in favor? Oh, was there a question I missed? Yeah, no. Mhm. Mhm.
That would cut the Melbourne water tower off because of the pressure wouldn't be there. And now Melbourne water tower, with this new system that we're talking about over there at 4 counties, water, with this trying to get away with the colored water,
Mhm.
we're going to have to put this other stuff into it. I asked them how that would work with us being on the bottom end of it. And he said, well, they have to start that a week or two earlier. Well, it's got to go through Glencoe, it's got to go through Westlawn. So I don't know how it's going to work.
Mhm. Mhm.
Unless they drain the water tower out of Melbourne, I've seen them do that.
Mhm.
That is costly to us.
Mhm. It is. Well, those are questions that we certainly can ask Councilman Collum at Tri-County, and we will get some definitive answers on that in future meetings. Yeah, that meeting was unexpectedly canceled last time, that Tri-County water meeting. Okay, and I'll repeat that last 6M again. Brooks Alveston fire budget, nothing to report on that, Martin. It was pretty self-explanatory. You wish to speak on it? Okay. All right, thank you. Council, the consent agenda has been gone through. We have made all inquiries, the council's questions on those without moving them into new business. May I have a mover to adopt them as presented and discussed? Councillor Vink, seconder. Councillor Myers. All in favor? Carried. Public meetings. There are none. Staff reports. Mike, if you could lead us off with the donor board report. Council would appreciate it.
Thank you, Your Worship. So council had originally on July 27th of 22 resolved that there'd be some donor board and methods of donation and recognition of those donations come to some sort of an idea of what can happen with the arena construction. Again, on December 14th, it was asked for staff to come back of what we could do to create awareness for this type of situation. So some sources were found. I reviewed sort of the previous tiers that were selected by council, going through a bronze level right through to diamond, which has varying degrees of financial contribution. But it was decided that not only would there be recognition on the website, there'd be recognition in the arena itself. And there's sort of been on one of the walls coming into the entranceway, I think to the right, there would be a donor board constructed. I believe I attached a idea of that donor board, and that the cost of that would be in the value range of about $3,500, and that would be to the high side of that. And it would come from donations that would subsidize the payment for that board.
Okay. Council, are there any questions that you wish to address to Mike through the chair? Okay, yes, Deputy Mayor Shoulders, please
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
Mayor Mayhew. I'm just curious if we have any donations yet.
Guess that would be a no. I haven't. Andrew, finances,
I
no.
just make the comment that it may be a little embarrassing putting a donor board up if we don't have donations. It's just a cautionary.
I think what we could do is you could have recommendation that council procures the donor board, but it's not procured until our donations meet that value to compensate for that board.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Yeah.
Okay, and Mark, this was your idea. I received it or tried to market it forward, and please go ahead with your question.
Well, I wondered if we could start the physical donor board at the $500 level. I've seen that other places, and that would possibly reduce costs. You wouldn't have many names to have to display. I know at some other arenas, I think they even, and I'm not saying we would get donations this big, but some arenas have had donations as big as $50,000.
Yeah.
Not that far from us. And so then we would need something above the diamond level. Instead of 5,000, you'd have 5,000 to 9,999, 10,000 and over, something like that. That I just wondered what other people thought of that, about leaving off the bronze level, off the physical donor board.
Any council member wish to add to that conversation? It was a long time ago. I raised funds for the train station in Glencoe, and we raised over $350,000 for that station. And a lot of that was in $20 bills, you know, but we raised, I think at that time, there were not a lot of grants available. I think we, out of that 350,000, about only 40,000 were grants applied to that station. So, but things have changed. It's more difficult to raise money for municipal projects today. In those days, it was an enjoyable experience, but it did take a couple of different marketing initiatives to get the thing rolling. I was in charge of that. I remember the first one that petered out pretty quick, and then we went back to the drawing board in terms of communications and marketing, and we picked it up That's a story in itself, but we found a way to get people's attention. But you know, you hate to cut people out. Yes, go ahead.
I just think that with the 100 with the bras, I see what you're saying. With the bras, that is what changes.
Yeah.
So people can't afford that. They want to live on. That's all.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Yes, Councillor Vink.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm not quite sure about these different levels. Where are these different levels going to be advertised? Or
Would be probably in the positioning on the plaque. Is that correct?
I'd have to get the definition of advertising from Councillor Vink. Do you mean where they will be displayed on the plaque, or will they be told how people can procure them?
are they just going to be put on the computer?
No, so we will go out to social media. It'll go out in the newsletter. It'll be on the computer's display, and it will be displayed on the board if you're talking about the actual board. So when you make a donation, your name will actually physically go on the board. It will go on the website, and it will go in any newsletter and advertisement. So you're getting a lot of exposure for your donation, that is for sure.
You mentioned something about Horizon Room that's going to be on a wall in there as well.
Did I mention the Horizons room?
Mayor, you know, probably
Oh, the entrance to the Horizon room. Yes, sorry, I'm sorry. Yes, not in the Horizon.
lobby,
Yes, sir.
lobby area.
Yeah.
Where people
Yes.
can be. Yeah. But I think it, you know, I don't think all the questions can be answered at a council meeting. I think this has to be thought and process put into it. It's marketing initiatives. And as the project gets rolling, and those donations may even come in council following the grand opening. When people see what they have, those donations may perhaps increase or continue anyway, at least. Once people use the facility and come to see their family or grandchildren at the facility, there may be additional interest fostered in it. But I concur with some of the statements that, you know, if someone wants to give $100 or $50, you'd like to be able to accommodate them. Is it it'll be, Michael, will that be tax deductible? We'll get a tax receipt for that on those donations.
That's correct,
They will,
yes.
Kristen? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yep. Okay, yes, go ahead, Mark.
I'll move the recommendation with leaving the bronze level in.
Okay, thank you.
And with the change that Martin recommended, that we actually not buy a board until we see how this goes.
Deputy Mayor recommended that, yep.
Oh, okay. I thought
Okay.
Martin-
I think that's wise. And,
So it's recommendation to procure the board. Next time I'll turn on my mic. I apologize.
yeah. Yep, okay. And the motion has been read. Any questions, any clarifications required? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried. Mike, the work from home policy, if you could walk council through this, please.
So thank you, Your Worship. So not much to change on the work from home policy, other than there's, I can note some stuff in the recommendation, and I'll kind of try to leave it at that. But and so it's any staff working from home will be returning to the office on a regular basis immediately. Council confirms that this policy will remain in place and utilized only when there's a necessity of working from home, will be instituted temporarily. We have some people that, you know, perhaps have a contractor coming to the house and they need some time off. They can go maybe work from home or a doctor's appointment or whatever. And actually we're getting a partial day's work out of them where we sometimes wouldn't be in that regard. And then I did note that a separate staff retention report will be brought forth to the next meeting, just because this was a standalone item I wanted to address here. And that takes a little bit more things that has I didn't want to separate it out because it was asked all at once, but it's better to separate it out. It's two different topics as far as I'm concerned. So the important things are in the recommendations. If there's any questions, I'm certainly here to help.
It was a good report, and I like the encouragement work from the office, that the report that I gleaned from the report when I read it, whether that was the way I interpreted that. And we certainly want to be competitive in the workplace. And there are occasions where we live in a virtual environment today, and it is not only convenient, but at times very necessary for people to have to work from home. And I sincerely hope that this council will not have to go through an elevation in any pandemic levels again. But the workplace has changed somewhat, but I appreciated the encouragement to be on site. Council, any questions you'd like to ask our CAO through the chair? Seeing none, the recommendation is before you. It's not necessary to read it. Would someone endorse that recommendation with motion? Councillor Myers. And a second for that. Councillor McCollum. Discussion in favor. Carried. And number 3, regarding trees bordering the Bob Martin Park. Go ahead, Mike, on that, if you'd like to present it.
Me again. Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, so just follow up to Councillor Myers' movement on November 23rd, that the staff reach out to the Agricultural Society to confirm they're all right with the removal of trees at the property by municipal staff. They were reached out to, of course. I think some of council attended the meeting that they had discussion on, and the Agricultural Society did in fact disagree with the removal of the trees. And therefore, staff is recommending, based on the agreement and 5.6 under the repairs section of the agreement that we have with the Ag Society, that council direct staff to trim and maintain the Bob Martin hedges as required on a regular basis. We've already made arrangements to make that happen, council. So pending any other feelings in this regard, that's we'll just take your direction as according with the recommendation.
Any questions? Okay, would someone move them? Oh, yes, Mark, go ahead, please. Councillor Gill.
What about the trees, kind of from the arena, behind the arena, down to the end of the street? Is that Curry Street? Mill Street. So that would be included in this too, maybe? Okay, so how did the Fair Board feel about those other trees? And are they actually on Fair Board property?
They are on the south side of the fence, whereas the ones at the Bob Martin Park are on the north side of the fence. The ones you're referring to are on the north side. They're on the south there.
So are they on municipal property?
They're on the right of road
Okay.
side there. Yeah, they were trimmed by the municipality, and I think they made it halfway down. So I think that's a project that's really unfinished. From a visual perspective, it looked like it was half done, but it was a big job. It took a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I think it was my understanding they would be talking about going back at it, finish it. Yeah, I think some of the complaints came in from the Fairview Apartments. That's why that section was focused on, but those are on the road side of the fence.
The clerk's going to jump in and give us point of order here. So.
Yes, Your Worship. We're a little bit off track of the report and the motions on the table and discussion.
Just for courtesy's sake, and then I'll circumvent the clerk here a little bit and hit me later. So the situation is that we have some bushes and shrubs of the same kind in front of the arena. We're going to do a removal of those, some cleanup. You've got a new facelift there, and some of that does need to be removed and cleaned up, and we are within our right because it is not our property to do that. We are looking over some other things with the Ag Society, with the borders and what is theirs, what is ours, what we can clean up, what we don't need to ask. So there are some things that we are looking after. Right now, Bob Martin, we're committed to trimming, and pending council's final decision on this, and we'll take it from there, and we'll come back as the relationship progresses.
Recommendation is before you. It's has been moved and seconded. Okay, you moved it, and was there a seconder for that? Okay, Deputy Mayor Schuldice, we've had discussion on it, clarification on it, all in favor? Carried. Committee terms of reference, the staff need that, Michael, I'll let you introduce that and go ahead.
Turn this one over to the clerk. We've got some ideas on how we'll handle the back end of this one, but Alan will give you the front end as far as the terms of reference with the active and recreational committee.
Yeah, so your worship, with these committees, we do have some applications for the first two items on the list. And I would really like direction to maybe review the terms of reference before we start them up right away. So that's why I requested to be directed to review those for the next meeting. As for the Canada Day committee, we have no applications at this point in time. And that's why I had a recommendation for removal. However, there has been further discussion for that for
Yes, yes.
Perhaps the CAO or you could speak to.
Yep, I'd be more than happy to. Michael, would you like to go ahead first?
I can do that. I said, as we look at this, this is obviously an item that nobody wants to see go by the wayside. Canada Day in the country, let alone in this small community, is a big thing. So with the absence of a committee, there are some different avenues and different channels we have to go through, right from fireworks right down to organization. So what I would suggest in this circumstance is that council direct staff to go get an evaluation on the Canada Day, including costs, and come back and give a broad overview on what can be done, how it can be subsidized, and what we can expect from staff and volunteers alike moving forward, because this is going to put a little bit of burden on staff with the absence of a committee and people joining in to help out. So that would be my recommendation at this point. And noting the sensitive timeline, because July isn't far away, quite honestly. So I'll look for your direction on that, council.
Thank you very much, Alan. I want to thank you for that. I will also want to thank you for the conversation that we had earlier today and with our CAO as well. First of all, the terms of reference of the Economic Development Committee, I'm very supportive of. I think there's many improvements that we can make in that committee. And I look forward to that starting up. I'm pleased to hear that there are some applications on that. In regard to Canada Day, I approached a few people on that, and there was some concerns about the process of application that, put it politely, that made them reconsider their participation in the future on that through the application process. Despite encouragement, it just wasn't forthcoming. We are extremely dependent on the Lions Club, and we certainly appreciate their organization, and they play a vital role in this thing. So some communications are going to have to go out to the Lions Club to see what their, I have heard rumors, and we're very fortunate they have our deputy mayor as a member, so we can glean some information from that. But staff will, in the report coming back, will be equipped to inform council of the Lions position on it and the program in itself. There has been volunteers from council, many of whom are at this table. Amy, Mark, myself, Martin, you've participated in that Canada Day celebration by helping pass out stuff to the kids in that. And I'm sure other councillors will get on board as well. We can all put a hand to that if we need to. So the recommendation would be as it is printed, but if we could just send a tack on the Recreation Committee be sent back for staff to bring back a report on its status. If we could modify that recommendation with Candidate Committee rather. Any questions on that? Would someone entertain to move that to update the terms of reference to Economic Development Committee, and have staff bring back a report regarding Canada Day. May I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Hagan, seconded for that. Councillor Myers, last call for discussion. Yes, go ahead, Councillor
Thank you,
Schultz.
Mayor Mayhew. I'd just like to reiterate that I think this year asking for resumes from our volunteers, this is the result that we're getting for doing that. And I'm just wondering if the members that were on the candidate committee could be considered if we're looking for changing the terms of reference on economic development, if we could be considered in joining that committee as well, now that we've disbanded the candidate committee. Thanks.
It's a consideration that could be brought back, and we will have a chance as a council to discuss this again moving forward, and that'll be at the next meeting. We'll ask about it. Okay. All right, it's been moved and seconded. The chair will call the vote on the recommendation. All in favor? Carried. Stephanie, 8B is planning, and there's some options here. I believe this is as a result of Bill 23. Is that correct? Could you give council a tutoring session on this? We appreciate it.
Certainly. So the purpose of this report is to provide council with information on the legislative changes to the Planning Act as a result of Bill 23, the More Homes Built Faster Act. More specifically, this report will focus on examining the changes to the statutory public meeting requirements for plans of subdivision within the Planning Act and the implications from a public consultation perspective. So the Bill 23 received royal assent on November 28, 2022, and is intended to support Ontario's housing supply action plan with a stated aim in increasing the supply of housing in the province. Bill 23 was quite comprehensive and made several legislative changes to various acts, including the Planning Act. And one of the Planning Act changes in effect as of November 28, 2022, is that public meeting requirements for plans of subdivision applications has been removed. So it is noted that the requirements for the notice to be circulated of an application has not been removed or altered. I therefore would continue to allow for written public comments to be received and included as part of a council decision. The opportunity for oral submissions that would normally take place at a public meeting is no longer mandated. And that being said, the legislation does not prevent municipalities from having public meetings, making the decision to have one optional. So staff have prepared the two options for council's consideration. Option one being that the municipality requires plans of subdivision to be subject to a public meeting, and option two would be that the municipality does not require plans of subdivision to be subject to a public meeting. And lastly, I just wanted to note that there have been no changes to the appeal rights for plans of subdivision as a result of Bill 23, which means that a member of the public still does not have the ability to appeal a plan of subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Council, are there any questions you wish to ask Stephanie from the chair? Perhaps I could begin, and I'll let Council dwell on that. Stephanie, you look after various municipalities within our Middlesex County framework. Have any other councils made decisions on this yet?
To the mayor, yes, the municipality of North Middlesex did make a decision to continue requiring public meetings.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and without giving up the gavel, I hope it's not necessary, but I think there is, it's important that transparency is a very important part in optics of government. And I think going forward, I can assure you that I believe this council and I know this administration and staff are very proactive in development. And by keeping public meetings in, I don't think that creates an illusion that we are anti-development. I think public information is valuable. And very often, if not for anything more than just getting the word out there of what's actually happening. But I'll open it up to council for your consideration. The chair likes option one as a courtesy to our ratepayers to let them know what is happening within Middlesex County, how it affects them, and to give that opportunity present. But does any other council member have an opinion on that? That can weigh in on one or two. Yes, Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I would be willing to move that we go with option one if you wanted a motion at this point.
Yeah, I'll take it, but I'll continue the discussion as well and make sure that all councilors have a chance to chat about it. Is there a seconder for that motion? Okay, Councillor McCollum. Yes, and I'll open up for dialogue. Councillor. Yes, Councillor Vink.
Yes, Mayor Allen, I think you said it well, so I agree with what you said.
Okay. Thanks. Yes, Councillor McGill.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Yeah, I agree with option one as well. I remember with the one subdivision, what's the one called in behind No Frills?
Well, I think the Turner subdivision, I'm not sure what
Anyway.
the number is.
We didn't have a public meeting with that one, did we? Because I think it was already on the books.
I'm gonna let Stephanie, there was, but that was very dated, going back to the 80s. I think there was some, I think there was a public meeting. Yeah.
Through the mayor, the lots were already in existence. So the plan of subdivision process for that particular area was already completed quite some time ago.
Yeah, so we didn't have a public
No,
meeting for that one. And actually it had been, those streets had been on Glencoe maps going
for
back to the
years,
1880s, 140 years. But we didn't have a public meeting because we didn't have to. But it would have been nice even in a case like that.
Well, yeah, I think the word too is checkerboard. They were kind of a checkerboard type subdivision in that. So plan subdivision was not required. Where there was no abutting lots owned by the same person. Relatives, but not the same person. Okay, there any further discussion? I think everyone's had a chance. I don't want to miss anybody, but thank you to the mover and the seconder for that. I think council are making the right decision here in the best interest of our municipality, and I don't think it reflects bad on our optimism for development at all. All in favor? Motion's carried. Is Sheila with us? Okay. Oh, man, your planning report. Stephanie, I can't lay it off the hook yet. You got an annual planning report 2022, and I'll let you present that to council.
Perfect, thank you. So just a quick overview. The planning department provides an annual update. So this is in regards to 2022. Staff received, I would say, an average amount of applications on par with the average from 2016 to 2022. There were some quite a few policy initiatives that took place in 2022. The county official plan update, which is pending the province's approval, and the Southwest Middlesex official plan update was also undertaken in 2022, which is still pending the County of Middlesex approval. Another project that was worth noting in 2022 was the implementation of cloud permit for planning applications. So this was used by the municipality for the building side of things for a few years now, but we are now transitioning for the planning side to streamline the process and improve efficiency generally. In terms of development numbers, I can report that Southwest Middlesex has approximately, I would say, 280 homes that are pending in different phases or statuses of plans of subdivision, site plans, etc. But there is growth taking place, which is wonderful to see. And I think that's about it.
Thank you. The recommendation is to receive that for information. Are there any questions? Council would like to pose to Stephanie? Seeing none, we have a recommendation is before us that it be received for information. Would someone please move that? Councillor Choi, a second for that, please. Councillor McGill. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. And in Sheila's absence, Kristen or Mike, she's here. Good. Okay, there she is. Yep. Just have to look up and see. Sheila, thank you very much for joining us virtually tonight. You please lead the way. It's good news to see these applications come in.
Thank you. Yes, it's very good news. This year we have 2 applications, one from Ace Country at the south end of Glencoe and Van Heck Funeral Homes, which are pretty much in the center of Glencoe. Both are very similar applications and very good uses of the CIP funds. They're both for accessibility projects, which is wonderful. And so they're asking for grant in approximately $8,800 in total between the 2. And then that is an investment by those business owners in the amount of just over $20,000. So again, just wonderful projects that we have. We likely would have had a couple more, but it's still very difficult for business owners to get those quotes from contractors. So that kind of held things up a little bit for a couple, and I'm sure they will submit applications in future years. If
Good.
there's any questions, I can answer them.
Certainly. Floor is open, council. Please address them to the chair. Seeing none, the recommendation is before you. May I have someone that supports the recommendation? Please raise their hand. Councillor Choi. Seconder for that, please. I'll second it. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila, very much. It's good to see you. Andrew is with us virtually tonight. How are you, Andrew?
Good, sir.
Andrew, delighted to see these applications come forth. Can you enlighten council on this one in front of us on the Glencoe outlet train?
Yes, sir. In the past month, there's been discussion between the applicants, consultants, and the municipality regarding the best placement for the access bridge for the future greenhouse that is, as I'm sure everyone's noticed, some earth being moved around on Park House. It was decided that the best place to build the access would be at the end of Industrial Street. This would allow large equipment to come from the property and to go onto Dundonald Road directly. However, this required a bridge to be constructed over the Glencoe outlet drain. During consultation with Spreet's office and administration, it was decided that the best way to expedite the process is to build an access bridge under 78.5 of the newest version of the Drainage Act, which is minor improvement. And this is a result of the most updated version of the Drainage Act. This allows for a minor improvement to a municipal drain, provided that the applicant is agreeable to absorb 100% of the cost, which the applicant has done so and is in understanding of that by signing that specific request form. And as you can see, the in the map where the approximate placement would be for the bridge to access this property. So at this point, it is my recommendation that council accepts the request filed under section 78.5 of the Drainage Act for range 2 NLR of lot 23 and 24 to construct a bridge under on the Glencoe outlet drain, and that the superintendent contact St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, which in this case, I believe that is Lower Thames, because as it does go into the Thames in this area, and the drainage superintendent report back to council after these items have been completed. And also, I would like to note this updated portion of the act is not clear if upstream landowners need to be notified or not. But in this case, I think it would be reasonable to notify them even if they are not contributing towards this bridge. It does make sense that they know what is going on with the drain that they are assessed to.
Thank you very much, Andrew. And yes, communication is important in these matters. People like to be informed. Councillor, are there any questions you'd like to pose to Andrew on this? Yes, Councillor Vink. Go first, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Alex, couple of quick questions. First question is, when was the Drainage Act updated? And then the second question is, will this be engineered? Because it's a fairly big opening. It'll need quite a bit of support for the trucks to go over.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the last updated version of the act was 2021, I believe. It went through a couple of years of consultation through the different municipalities in Ontario. And yes, this would definitely be through an engineer's report. The main difference is that the applicant would absorb the cost of this.
Thank you, Councillor Vink. And Andrew, any further questions? Yes. Oh, was it? Yeah. He answered. Yeah, he did. Yep. Mark, did you have a question? Okay. Yes, Councillor McCollum, please go ahead.
How do they notify all the ratepayers in Glencoe? Most of them will be on this, will they not?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we do have a watershed map and an assessment schedule for the Glencoe outlet drain. And there is a good portion of the village or the town of Glencoe. And it is certainly possible to figure out who is assessed towards it. We do have those records.
Yep, another follow-up, Don, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I just thought there'd be a cheaper way than sending everybody a letter, or how will you notify them?
I think there is some clarity that's needed in that. Andrew mentioned that to me the other day in the office. You're kind of feeling your way through this as you go along, Andrew, as to how, because it is unusual and somewhat unusual. Are you able to answer Councillor McCollum, or have I gave a proper scenario of that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think it is money worth spending to send out those notices through the mail. There are other options, I suppose, that you could use through social media, but I think in the case of the Drainage Act, it doesn't recognize any other type of notification besides mailing. And so whenever in question, I usually fall back on that.
Okay, any further questions? Yes, Deputy Mayor Schuldice.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I see that the applicant is agreeing to absorb 100% of the cost of construction, but who is responsible for any future maintenance or repairs that may happen to this municipality or the applicant?
Through you, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Andrew. I was just going to forward the question to you. Yeah.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. There would be a future maintenance clause that's attached to this report. And I would suspect that it would be attached to that property until the Drainage Act doesn't exist anymore, or what have you. It would be more than likely be basically forever that this property would be responsible for maintaining the cost. Like, it would be in a municipal drain. They would notify the municipality, whether it's me or whoever, to line up any kind of contractor that may need to do work or replace it, but the cost would go to that property.
Okay, thank you.
Your worship, just to satisfy council a little bit further, and sorry, Andrew, I'm just gonna jump in here. I'm in possession of their agreement with their site plan, et cetera, and dealing with their legal counsel that we are sharing with them. So right now, I'll make sure that there's something in there that runs across as well to cover us off both on both sides of things.
Okay. Any further questions? Andrew, if the chair could ask a couple, one was a comment. I don't think we should lose sight of the fact that this section 78 is also being used as a vehicle to resolve a traffic issue. We want those, we do not want those trucks going in the vicinity of the entrance to Echo School, where kids are being let off and parents are dropping their children off. The truck traffic will increase to some degree there. And we want that, we would rather have that traffic on Industrial Road as opposed to Park House Road. And though it is a section 78 and a drainage matter, I think that is being utilized as a vehicle to, on words, as a vehicle to reduce vehicular traffic on Park House Road. Andrew, my question is this too, on that culvert, on that bridge, what are the requirements that would necessitate guardrails on that project? And are they being considered, or would they qualify for guardrails?
That's a reasonable question. And that certainly would be a good thing to bring up to the engineer that gets appointed to the project. I think that it is likely that the bridge would be a culvert bridge with a granular backfill with gabion stone end walls. But I think a guardrail in some form would be reasonable, given the fact that it is where it is, the placement of it.
Yeah.
And the other option, whether it's gabion stone or large concrete blocks on the end walls, if that's the case, then it would be even easier to affix guardrails on both sides.
Okay, yeah, it would be, that would be ideal that arrangement could be made, I would think. Yeah.
Yes.
Any further questions? Then the chair will, yeah,
Mayor.
Don, go ahead.
What road construction would take place here, and how would it be paved, or what? To how far?
That might have to be a question, or sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, that may be a question that would have to be sent to Mike, to the CAO. At this point, I don't know the answer to that.
Nor do I. So I will get you that answer. With the agreement, we can find out how far it comes, what we're obligated with that portion of road, and where theirs would take over from there. But I can get you that answer quite easily, and I can send that out to council as an individual, you know.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions? Keep my eyes glued to this horseshoe a little better. Apologize for missing your hand there, Don. Okay, the motion is before you. Would someone entertain to accept the recommendation? Please raise their hand. Councillor Vink, seconded by Councillor McCollum. All in favor? Carried. Council, there's no building before us tonight, nor is there any fire. Notice of motion. Martin, would you like to speak to this in regard to the setback of signage from roads?
Sorry. Yes, we did receive an email from our CEO, so I really don't want to comment too much on this, other than I feel it should be, well, it's self-explanatory.
Okay.
I feel that advertising should be on intersections in the rural areas, and I mentioned specifically rural areas because obviously there's a lot of advertising towns all over the place. So I try to minimize the bylaw, and I'm flexible with the 500 feet too. If somebody thinks it should be 400, that's fine too, or even as low as 300. But I definitely don't think that people should be able to see signs when they're on the south side.
Okay. That's a recommendation put forth. Are you willing to move that recommendation?
Yes, Mayor Allen.
Okay. Council, is there a seconder for that? We'll have some other discussion. Seconder for that? Councillor Myers. And council, in regard to the discussion, we will not be mentioning names or ownership or advertisers or anything of that nature. We'll just keep it to the principle of the investigation of the bylaw. Any further questions? Yes, Deputy Mayor Schuldeis.
Just for staff's own reference use, the MTO has a highway corridor management policy. And under 5.7, there's a lot of information on billboards. And you might want to check them.
Okay, good point. Any further questions? This is a request to staff to bring back a report to council. All in favor? Carried. Correspondence and petitions, Mike, I don't think there's any. Unfinished business, we dealt with that somewhat. I think we got that done. No new business, consent items were dealt with. I think we're okay there. Any further new business from council that they wish to bring forward? Seeing no hands, we can move on. County council and conference updates. Okay, announcements. Council, are there any from the prospective wards or any information that you think council would be interested in? Yes, Councillor McGill, please go ahead.
There was a Hydro One meeting at the Fair Board building tonight about the transmission line that's gonna be put in from Lake, or from, oh, now I forgot, the Longwood
Longwood's
substation
distribution,
to,
yeah.
to Lake Shore. And might potentially be coming through Southwest Middlesex. I went to it and Amy went to it. There were quite a few people there.
Good.
I think it's supposed to be, the plan is to have it completed by 2030, but the route hasn't been determined yet.
Yep, and Councillor McGill and myself had the pleasure of meeting with Hydro One at Roma when we went to that conference, and that discussion was had as well. Okay. Any further announcements, council? Yes, Councillor Schuldeis,
Thank
or
you,
Deputy
Mayor.
Mayor Schuldeis.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Mayor Mayhew. The Glencoe Lions will be holding their bottle and can drive Saturday, April the 22nd at the fairgrounds.
Okay, good. Wish them well in that endeavor. Make a note of that. I'd like to, at this time, also make an announcement that we send our condolences to the families of Mayor Duncan McPhail, Mayor of West Elgin, and past warden. Duncan too shared governance responsibilities on the Tri-County Water Board as chairman, and also on the Four Counties Transit Board as well. So we wish him and his family well, and give our condolences for his passing on. He was a person larger than life in many ways. Yeah, I can move on from that, council, I believe. No more hands. There are no closed sessions. The bylaws are before you, and they are in reference to bylaw 2023-19 and 2023-20. And of course, the CIP bylaw is in there as 2021. Is that correct? Alan, there's 3 bylaws that we are.
Yes, your worship. 2023-19 and 2023-2021 were the CIP bylaws.
Okay, you bet. A motion to adopt the readings of those 3 bylaws. Someone entertain that? Thank you, Councillor Choi. Second for that. Councillor McCollum. All in favor? Carried. Council, I'll draw your attention to the meetings of April 12th, April 26th, and May 10th. And thank you once again to, oh, was there a comment? Yes.
Just one last question. I was just checking things off and I just wanted to double check. Did we do finance community improvement applications? Did we make that motion? Number 8C. We did we cover that?
We did, yes.
We did, okay, I forgot to mark it down. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, I'd like to thank council for coming and those in attendance virtually. And certainly I'd like to thank staff and administration for their valiant efforts in providing council with information. We appreciate it. Chair will adjourn the council meeting at 8:23. Thank you.